Hello, welcome to JNUC 2021. This session is called IBM Notifier, a modern notification agent that integrates with Jamf Pro. We're pretty excited to record this session centered around the recently released IBM Notifier app. Our presentation will demo a few workflows and script examples that we find interesting. Perhaps you'll find them interesting too. I'm Jonathan Crower, engineering lead for Mac at IBM, and have been with the program for approximately 4 years.
Hello, everyone. My name is Noor Jabaya. I'm a platform engineer for Mac at IBM, where I have been with the team for about 3 years.
Hello, my name is Michelle Shiho Schaefer, and I'm a platform engineer. I have been part of the Mac at IBM program for about 2 years now. John, Noor, and I are all based in New York City, and we are recording this session from our respective bedrooms in our tiny apartments.
IBM Notifier is a project we have been passionately working on for a few years now. As Mac admins, we are used to leveraging a wide variety of notification tooling and utilities in order to communicate to our users. We need to let them know about OS and app updates, security vulnerabilities, device compliance. I know many of us have leveraged Jamf Helper for pop-ups, written fancy Apple scripts for accepting user input, and utilize Cocoa Dialog for displaying a progress bar, among many other examples. From our experience, not a single program or binary was feature-rich enough to give us everything we needed for interacting with our users in a professional and consistent manner, inspiring us to create our own.
IBM Notifier has taken features that were already available in other notification agents and expanded on them. While there are multiple applications out there that accomplish the same goals, these are the ones we use in our environment. Standard features such as pop-ups can now be heavily customized to support custom branding, timers, window positions, and so much more. Other features that you may already be familiar with, such as banners and alerts in the Notification Center, are also available to be customized for your organization's brand. Alerts in particular are no longer supported in the latest versions of macOS for Terminal Notifier and Cocoa Dialog. But fear not, IBM Notifier is continually being developed and tested on beta versions of macOS to ensure compatibility. Progress bars can now be configured to increment up to completion or show indeterminate progress. They can display messaging above and below the progress bar to give specific details on what actions are being performed. They can also be set to allow or disallow user interaction and user interruption. On top of improving on features that are already available, there are brand new features that we as admins have not had access to before in a single tool. Custom workflows and advanced features such as drop-down selections, secured inputs, making notifications silent, ensuring the pop-up window is always at the forefront of the screen, and custom help buttons are all now available. IBM Notifier also supports text formatting and markup. This allows for custom branding so you can use your own organization's font in your messaging. Embedded media is a feature we always wanted, but there wasn't anything out there that fit our use cases to autoplay videos, encode images, and provide informative graphics. We needed a tool that had all the features displayed on this chart, and we dreamed of having a notification agent that would continue to improve over time and integrate seamlessly with future OSs. As many great things, this all started as an idea before it became a reality. I'd now like to invite you to join us on the journey to how IBM Notifier came to fruition.
The initial design phase for what would become IBM Notifier app began in 2017 when the team took many of the features from various alert and notification apps that were currently deployed in our environment. We attempted to merge them into a cohesive experience that looked professional and authoritative. Our end goal was that when an employee received a notification from our team through Jamf Pro, they would know that it was from a legitimate source and understand that it was probably important. Application scope centered around Cocoa Dialog and Terminal Notifier modals but with emphasis on customization and extensibility for adding new features and improvements. All notification types will be badged with our own logo and maintain the same look and feel regardless of notification type. We mocked up pictures and argued about button placement and feature priorities. Everything was meticulously documented and pushed through design review, and once we were satisfied, carelessly thrown into a desk drawer, never to be seen by human eyes again. Priorities change. In early 2018, development focus shifted to what would become the Mac IBM enrollment app. Our team worked on debugging and workflow consistency for our enrollment process, and IBM Notifier faded from memory. The Mac IBM enrollment app was released to the community as our first open source project, and we took a break before deciding the path Mac IBM would next travel. In 2019, we were able to expand our team and brought 2 developers into the Mac IBM program to continue iterating the enrollment app and work on future projects. By chance, a sleepy-eyed Mac IBM engineer rediscovered the lost design document for IBM Notifier, now covered in a thick layer of dust. The papers were brought forth, ancient blood feuds resumed about icon colors, window sizes, and other things. The 2 new programmers thought this was great fun and couldn't wait to start building a new tool. You can catch those very same developers at their own session during this JNUC called Kokohu, IBM Notifier, a modern notification agent, where they will showcase app customization and other topics from a developer's lens. Development began quickly, and our team was able to start testing the app internally. The initial spec was completed in the beginning of 2020, which included most of the features we'd always hoped for all the way back in 2017. As the agent was iterated upon, we built extensive regression testing practices still in use today whenever a new version of the app is built. After we were satisfied that the core of the app was complete, it was deployed internally to IBM workstations. Previous workflows that used other notification apps were transitioned to IBM Notifier. With the app live and in use, work was completed on the open source codebase, and IBM Notifier was released to the Mac admin community. If you haven't yet tried it out, a link will be provided at the end of this presentation to our GitHub repo. We'd now like to present a very short video that started out as a fun scripting experiment written by Michelle that showcases just a few features with IBM Notifier.
What is IBM Notifier? Let's find out. Whoa. Whoa, this progress bar is moving way too quickly for me. IBM Notifier is written in Swift, supports Apple Silicon, complies with Apple's Human Interface Guidelines, and is a fully compiled, signed, and notarized app. Let's learn more about IBM Notifier.
We use IBM Notifier a lot. One of the major complaints that we've seen in regards to our own program is sometimes an employee just doesn't know what's going on when they click a button in the store, or an automated action completes, but they still need to be made aware. To us, feedback to the user of a managed device is just as important as having the latest software for installation or enforcing compliance for workstation security. That said, having too many notifications can cause an employee to just tune everything out, making any important information that you wish to convey so much background noise. I can't tell you the ratio of notification frequency that best fits your environment, and I don't believe that we've gotten to that sweet spot at IBM, but we're constantly working on it. Feedback from your employees about how you deliver information, as well as how engaged they are with the platform, is of paramount importance to us, and I hope it is to you as well. With the following examples, we hope to show different ways to use the IBM Notifier with simple Jamf policies. They're all designed as deployable scripts that can be executed as you see fit. These scripts are included with the session handouts that accompany this presentation. The Notifier health check isn't necessarily used on its own. It's actually a function that we attach to every script that calls IBM Notifier in some manner. The purpose is to verify application health and minimum feature requirements. We quickly found that as new features were added or changes made to existing ones, we had to make sure that a notification call actually did what it was supposed to, and so the agent check function was born. You'll likely notice some repetition in variable naming and styling. This is for consistency's sake and to allow any member of our team, regardless of scripting ability, to plug script components together and make new workflows quickly and efficiently. The first variable on line 2 defines the locally logged on user. This is due to an IBM Notifier requirement to run under an active user session and not as root like the rest of the script. Next on line 5 is a variable for Jamf policy event trigger, in this case, nota install. The nota install policy itself is simple enough. You would create a package payload with the latest IBM Notifier installer and an optional recon payload. Configure it as an ongoing policy with the custom event trigger defined above and scope it to all workstations. Line 8 details the file path of IBM Notifier, and line 9 is a variable for the minimum version this function will compare against the local app bundle. In this particular case, we're going to check and see if IBM Notifier 2.10 or higher is installed. The function agent check is defined on lines 11 through 35 and would typically be called as the very first executable line in your script. It contains code that will attempt to reinstall the agent in the event of a version mismatch or application error. If it is unable to complete the reinstallation, the function will exit and you would need to abort the rest of your script. If the function prints out a line that says agent installed and working, then you're clear to proceed. In our experience, the function rarely needs to attempt a remediation more than once. Within the while loop that starts on line 15, the command that follows will attempt to call the IBM Notifier help page and capture the response of that command. If it's a 200, then we recorded a successful check. Anything else means there's something wrong. We'll now follow the successful path first. Assuming we have received an exit code of 200, then the next step on line 17 is to make sure that the installed agent meets our minimum version defined in the NAVERS variable at the top of the script. As mentioned before, in this example, it is 2.1.0. Line 19 captures this information by calling the version flag within the IBM Notifier binary and then pipes it to awk in order to separate the second column, which is where the app version is displayed. Line 20 uses printf to format both our IBM Notifier version and the defined minimum version from NAVERS as a list, and then uses sort's built-in version sorting method. We then separate out our final result with head, which will return the lowest version of the two strings. Now that we have the information we need, we can check our variables with two test statements on line 22. If the version returned from our sort matches our IBM Notifier version, but doesn't match the defined minimum version of the script, then we know it's lower than the minimum and needs to be upgraded by the Jamf policy. If the sort doesn't match our IBM Notifier version, then we know that the install version is equal to or greater than the minimum version required, so we can safely assume that the agent will draw our later notifications correctly. Identical versions for the installed application and defined minimum version will also break out of the loop at lines 25 to 27 as IBM Notifier is compliant and ready for use. If we failed the version check, the next step is to attempt and install by calling the Jamf binary with our event trigger on lines 30 to 32. You may notice that we are suppressing the policy recon after executing the Jamf binary. Since it's more than likely our notification script policy is going to apply an additional recon at the end, there's no reason to do so twice. In this script example, you can see that the function is finally called on line 37. After the function is executed, you should hopefully receive the all clear message and can continue on with the rest of your script. If you don't see any output as a test condition should be used to exit the script with an error code and a closer look taken at the Mac for troubleshooting.
Keeping our fleets up to date is an important task for any endpoint management team. IBM Notifier has made this a lot easier and more transparent for our users, as we prefer to have them update on their own rather than to force these updates upon them. On this slide, we are sharing a sample code snippet based on a patch notification workflow we have in our production environment at IBM. Just for some background, for app patches, we have a dedicated category in self-service where users can see any pending updates. Each of those self-service policies are given the same event trigger of patch app updates. As you can see, the script is fairly simple. We have our variables defined above. On line 6, you can see the variable NAVers, which we just have in there as a reminder that this script can also be paired with the notifier health check function that John just described in the previous slide. We begin with a recon on line 21 to get the latest data from the device. We follow that with an API call to the JSS on line 24 in order to get all available policies for that machine. I did just want to quickly mention that we are using plain text username and password just for the sake of simplicity. We encourage you to use a more secure method for passing your credentials, such as using encrypted strings, which can be defined as a parameter in your policy. We also have a handy link to Bryce and Tyrell's GitHub for those who would like additional information on how to get this configured. Back to that API call. From that generated list, we then search for a specific pattern. In our sample here, we are looking for the event trigger that I mentioned earlier of patch app updates, followed by self-service. This indicates that this is an update policy that is available in self-service for that device. We then get a count of how many updates are in scope using grep-c. You can see that on line 25. If there are no patches available, the script will exit and no banner will be shown to the user. If the count returns with one or more than one available patch, we customize the banner accordingly and display the number of patches that are available. On lines 27 through 30, we are even taking into account if the return number of patches is singular, or plural. This is just something minor that we added in order to present a more professional notification experience. Selecting the Update button from the banner will launch the category specified in the script based on category ID within self-service. You can see this on line 44. I'm pleased to say that we have several colleagues at other companies who are already leveraging IBM Notifier for a workflow very similar to this one in their own production environments.
We are able to empower employees at IBM by keeping them informed on what actions are being performed on their Macs. As of now, when a policy is run from self-service, a spinning wheel is displayed. Although visually it differs from Apple's rainbow spinning weight cursor, also affectionately referred to as the spinning wheel of death, the feeling it provides the end user is much the same. Perhaps it spins for a while. The longer it spins, the more unsure we all become. We start to wonder, is there a problem? What's really going on behind the scenes? In reality, it could be a complex workflow, a very large package download. Maybe the machine is switching between Wi-Fi networks or any other network-related issue. It could even be a combination of these. This policy progress function shown here fills a need for people who want more insight by displaying a pop-up during policy execution with information on what is occurring, without having people navigate to the local Jamf log. In this script, the notification is spun off as a separate subprocess in lines 56 through 72. The reason for setting up a separate process is that the progress bar payload is an active process that we need to feed information into in order to update the progress bar. As each policy event completes, the accessory payload with informational messages are updated. In this example, we are uninstalling an old app on line 74, installing a new app, line 76, and then updating the inventory, line 78. The while loop at line 80 checks to see if the recon process has completed. Once the inventory update is finished, the loop breaks and the notification process is terminated. Here is a short demo video to see this function in action. We'll click Run to start the policy progress demo. A pop-up with an indeterminate progress bar will appear. The progress bar informs us that the old app is being uninstalled. Now the new app is being installed. And lastly, a recon or inventory update is being submitted. Once the recon is complete, the notification completes and self-service reports back to us that the policy is done.
Onboarding. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Doesn't IBM already have an open source onboarding app? We even mentioned it earlier in this presentation. Why? Yes, we do. The onboarding feature of IBM Notifier is a bit different. Released in version 2.0, onboarding for IBM Notifier is intended to allow any Mac admin to quickly create a simple enrollment and onboarding workflow rather than a fully fledged onboarding experience. You can create this quick enrollment within a few hours. The script we are showing here only has a few components. At the top, we have some variables defined. On line 2, you can see we have all the policies that we will be triggering in the background while the onboarding experience is running. For our simple enrollment experience, we chose to include enforcing security settings, enabling file vault, and a few others. On line 4, you can see the path to the JSON file, which is how we will define the contents of the pages or screens of the onboarding experience that we are creating. I'll get back to this JSON shortly. Similar to our previous example, we are again showing IBM Notifier running in multiple processes. You can see this on line 7. On lines 10 through 12, we are just running through the policies we have defined for our quick enrollment. Once those are complete, we are wrapping up with an IBM Notifier pop-up to inform the user that the enrollment is complete and that their device will be rebooted. Here's the JSON file that contains the contents of the onboarding pages. There are only a few components. You can see title, subtitle, body, media type, and media payload in each JSON object. On lines 7 and 14, you see examples of the 2 types of media that IBM Notifier onboarding is supporting, both static images and video. The media payload element is where you will define the paths to the selected media. On the third page of this quick enrollment, which you will see defined in the third object of the JSON, we also want to show that you can configure an info box, which you can use to share any number of things such as corporate abbreviations or further instructions to the user. All right, finally, let's see how this all comes together. I want to just start by saying that John is not only our team's engineering lead, but he's also our artist in residence. You can see one of his pieces here on this slide in the form of a blonde Nick Cage. A true masterpiece, honestly. This is the static image that we had defined in our JSON from the previous slide. On page 2, you can see a screenshot of the video that we had defined in that second JSON object. Although we're not actually showing off the video, I promise you, it's awesome. Thirdly, we have our page that contains the info box that I mentioned, if you would like to utilize this feature. Finally, the quick enrollment completes with a pop-up to the user. We saw this defined on lines 15 through 19 of our sample script. Here, we are just informing the user that their device will reboot in 1 minute to enable file vault. We are looking forward to seeing how you craft your own quick enrollment experience using IBM Notifier.
By the time you're watching this presentation, the features listed here will have already been implemented. Window positions and alerts were demoed in the first video. Pop-ups can be configured to display in the center, top right, top left, bottom right, or bottom left portions of your screen. Not only is there a dedicated accessory payload for HTML support, but HTML support is also integrated into regular text fields. A secondary accessory view allows for multiple accessory payloads to be used in the same notification. For example, a progress bar can be displayed with a timer, or an image can be displayed with a secured input, or any combination of two accessory payloads. For an exclusive sneak peek into the next iteration of IBM Notifier, you can anticipate the onboarding UI to become more interactive and for a new menu bar item, coming soon to a GitHub repo near you.
The examples provided here only scratch the surface of IBM Notifier's capabilities, and with new and upcoming features, we're really excited to see how other organizations leverage the app. We hope that you'll check out the script snippets discussed during this presentation, play around with them, and maybe even work them into your own workflows. Did you think of a use case or a method that you'd like to see in a future version of IBM Notifier? Head over to ibm.biz/IBM-Notifier, which will take you to our public GitHub space. You'll be able to make feature requests, file bugs, and of course, download the latest available installer. In addition to GitHub, we have a Slack channel on Mac admins called mac-ibm-open-source, where members of the Mac at IBM engineering and development teams hang out to answer questions and share knowledge about the app. Feel free to join us and other admins from across the community to swap tips and tricks or showcase what you've built. Thank you for listening.